Got traffic there. Last there, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you clear to land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever's here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that. After 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello.
Welcome everybody to this Thursday evening's live stream special. Now, I know I say we've always got a great show for you, but tonight we've got a great show for you. I guess you'd expect me to say that anyway. So this is an airfield special. We'll be looking at the good, we'll be looking at the sad, we'll be looking at the close. Later, we'll be talking to Harvey Sant, who is the duty manager at Halfpenny Green, or Halfpenny Green, as Johnny likes to call it. About the massive investment and changes they've made there, which is absolutely fantastic. But before we get to that, just to let you know that we've still got the normal regulars. So first of all, I need to thank yet again Skydemon for supporting this show. It's absolutely brilliant that they do that, and I'm super happy. And here is your tip this week. I can learn to talk. I can do it. Here you go.
Hi, I'm Rob from Skydemon, and here's another top tip.
In this video, we will look at fuel you intend to have on board and how that feeds into Skydemon's calculations. With the route on screen, open up the Flight Details menu. Let's take a quick nose of the weight summary here and endurance summary here before pressing on fuel. Dismissing the keyboard for a moment, this is the screen which shows Skydemon's estimate for your fuel requirements for the planned route as calculated with reference to your aircraft profile. We can then tap into the fuel field to specify how much fuel we intend to take on board for the flight. When we go back out to the main part of the Flight Details menu, we can now see the effect our change has made to the endurance and weight values.
For more information, check out our website www.skydemon.aero.
I'm just singing along.
Rob was sounding super chipper with that tip, wasn't he?
Well, yeah. I must admit that the fuel bit is not something I use a huge amount of on Skydemon, and that's mainly because I'm very lucky to have really good fuel sensors in my Cessna, which is unusual in a Cessna for a start, but I replaced them with some from a company called CAES. If you need to replace your fuel sensors, do it with those. This is not a sponsored announcement, they're just bloody good, and it feeds into a really good fuel computer. So
you actually know how much fuel you have, which is a rare thing in an aeroplane, because normally it's like I must sometimes wonder, people who are new to aviation, you go, oh yes, we get this bit of wood and we stick it in a tank. And it's like, wow, it's like, are we still flying in like 1926 or something?
Funny enough, I fly another airplane that I fly doesn't have that super wonderful fuel computer thing working, which the 182
You have a wooden stick.
And I have a wooden stick, but it was a wooden stick that was recuperated from a bin in a hangar where a Tiger Moth was being refurbished. So it's part of a kind of really early Tiger Moth. So whatever wood that would have been.
So it's like I dipped my Cessna 180 with the Tiger Moth.
Yeah, basically. Tiger Moth is just for dunking. But
if you've just joined us, this is madness. Definitely not madness, and hopefully with good news of the weather is our weather guru Simon. Let's bring him in.
Evening.
Hello, Simon.
I was just thinking with the stick there, it's as good as the forecasting stone, isn't it? If the stone is wet, it's raining, all of that sort of stuff.
Yep. If the stick is wet, you have fuel.
Exactly. And sometimes it feels like that in this job, believe me. Should we take a look at what's going on? It looks like actually it's not going to be a bad weekend by the looks of things. High pressure's built in, and that's good news. It does cause a few problems with details in the forecast, which I'll talk about in just a second. As soon as the graphics are the right size, there we go.
Okay.
Look, we like large graphics and small, Simon, don't we? So there you go. That's tomorrow. That's Friday. High pressure centered over England. We've got a southwesterly flow, which is kind of just feeding in cloud across western parts of Scotland. Just drizzle here. Elsewhere, I think broken cloud, probably more than we've seen in many areas today. You see here on the cloud base forecast, this is the ceiling forecast. Generally, those greens are 2,000 to 3,000 feet and above. So for most areas, I think we'll have decent bases, and it'll be a decent day. Should just mention as well the risk of 1 or 2 early morning mist and fog patches, particularly across England and Wales. Now, Saturday, a very weak front moving southeastwards through Scotland and into Ireland, just has residual cloud left on it, but that means that for many parts of central and southwestern Scotland, for northern central parts of Ireland, we've got cloud, quite low cloud as well. The yellow colours showing us 1,000-foot base and potentially below. So quite a bit of hill fog there. Elsewhere, though, notice very, very little cloud. I think there will be mist and fog patches again in the morning, but that will lift quite quickly. And then Saturday looks like being a decent sort of day. I think quite hazy in a few places with those light and variable winds, but overall, Saturday's looking pretty decent as well. And then for Sunday, now, a little more complex on Sunday. You wouldn't think it looking at that chart because it just says that high pressure is there again. A little bit more breeze around in Scotland, particularly across northwestern areas, where that southwesterly just brings in again some low cloud, as you can see here across western coasts. Bases around 800 to 1,000 feet tops, probably up at around 3,000 or 4,000 feet. And then just some residual cloud look across central parts of northern England, getting into central Ireland. But elsewhere, generally it's flyable again. High pressure in control, some morning mist and fog then, but that will clear quite quickly. But this is a great example of how you can use SCUTs. And I always bang on about SCUTs. And as pilots, I think we should all use them because they make our flying so much better. Now, I won't go into the detail. Obviously, we've got nowhere near enough time, but you just look at the patterns of the SCUTs. This is Glasgow, this is Manchester, this is London for midday on Sunday. We're looking vertically upwards through the atmosphere. And you see here at Glasgow, can you see the red and the blue lines coming together at the bottom there, just hinting that there could be some little bit of morning mist and fog there first thing. But generally, the blue and the red line are far apart. Red line is temperature, blue line is dew point. Manchester, much more close together, look, much closer together from the surface. Up to that's going to be at around 3,000 feet. So quite a bit of cloud there at Manchester, clear above. And then London, just coming into southern England, the temperature and the dew point, again, quite far apart, telling us that we've got some decent conditions. So it's just good to use the SCUTs just to try and drill down a little bit more into the detail that we see. We talk about SCUTs at Aviation Weather School Part 2, but my Aviation Weather School Part 1, the next one, is going to be an online course again, presented live by me on the Tuesday evenings of the 18th and 25th of March between 6:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. It'll be super to see you there. I've got a single place remaining, so if you want that, go to weatherschool.co.uk. You can book that place now, and also you can do my online SCUT course as well if you like. So there you go, a decent flying weekend. Get out there, make the most of it if you can, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Simon, before you go, Simon, you go, Catlin has a question. She says, question for Simon. Why is it at sunset in a clear blue sky, just as the sun is reaching the horizon, invariably a cloud appears and obscures the sun?
It's a well-known meteorological phenomenon called Sod's Law. So I hope that helps. Seriously, what you can sometimes get when the sun goes to the horizon, because it's then going through quite a thick layer of atmosphere, that cloud may have been there for some time. It's just that it's not visible from the surface. And just occasionally, as the sun's rays go up through a thicker part of the atmosphere, we can just see cloud, thin cloud that possibly wasn't there before. So I think that's the answer to your question.
Fantastic. Cool. Thank you very much, Simon.
And it sounded plausible anyway. So
it does. We believe anything you have to say.
Thank you, Ed. See.
And he's gone.
It was tricky timing the starting of that. I didn't want to cut him off, but I seem to.
But you did.
But I did anyway. So apologies, Simon. I didn't mean to do that. Please forgive me. Right. I guess it's time for the news, isn't it? And oh look, I'm up first this week with the news. So. We got news, I think, what day is it today? Thursday? So it was the day before yesterday, Tuesday. Piper issued this custom. It was dated February 20th. We only heard about it on the 23rd, I think. Whatever. Customer information letter saying this is kind of adding more fuel to the unleaded fuel fire, as if it needed it. Basically, they said that over the years they've had an awful lot of fuel systems and everything else but Piper has not evaluated any of the STC fuels, which is really GAMI G100UL, for use in any Piper aeroplane model. We don't have sufficient information to evaluate the chemical properties. We don't know how it's going to interact with materials, how it's going to interact with the fuel system, whether it's going to interact with the airframe surfaces or structures or fuel tanks. So don't use it. And you have to say that now brings the total to 2 between Cirrus and Piper, plus the other doubts that are going on. I have to say, if I was George Braley sitting on 1 million gallons of G100UL in a refinery, hoping to sell it to lots of people in California right now,
yeah,
I'd be a tad worried. I'd look out for fuel appearing on eBay. So G100.
And what happens if you were if you were a Piper owner in a flurry to buy your STC back when there was that big push?
Well,
in California,
I'm going to guess
you'd be going, I'd like my money back, please.
Yeah, I mean, in aviation terms, the STC wasn't outrageously expensive, was it?
No.
But nonetheless, that's no reason to spend it. But I think it would be fair to say that the future of G100UL is more complicated now than it might have been a year ago.
I think so. Yeah.
And I think there's some tough things happening, and I don't know how that's going to play out in the US political scene at the moment. So I think watch this space is all we can do. But there'll certainly be some people based in some of the airfields in the States that have, in California particularly, that are not going to be selling leaded avgas. That's going to be challenging for some people. So yeah, tough one for those.
Mike Roberts says, why is the fuel thing so much of an issue? Surely an STC for new heads with hardened seats for UL is cheaper than developing new fuels. What am I missing? I don't know, Mike. I think replacing heads or cylinders on the GA fleet would be quite an expensive undertaking.
I think the issue with the GAMI fuel is on some types of seal in fuel systems, it reacts. The same as the fuels with a high content of E5 or E10 ethanol. They tend to react with seals as well.
It's all about the volatiles, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in the coal world, it was there was a huge market, and the problem needed to be solved by the huge manufacturers. And in the aviation world, I mean, talking about Mike Roberts, what's the problem with getting the STC? Can you imagine the cost of getting an STC for all of the different valve and cylinder combinations and all of the engine combinations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? That's a big ask for people who are not going to be making huge amounts of money out of it. And imagine the delay it would take if everyone had to replace their cylinders with STC'd hardened cylinders or hardened valve seats or something.
Yeah.
Probably take that 50 years.
Yeah, as Paul Segupta says, they all had hardened valve seats years ago. Many are approved for MOGAS. So Nick Allen adds, presumably that puts pressure on Cessna.
Yep.
Well, yeah, or not on the basis that perhaps Cirrus and Piper between them have mortally wounded the future of G100. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Hey, talking about something with Rotax engines, Ed.
Well then, there I have some Tecnam P2006 TNG news, and that is that new aeroplane from Tecnam has finally got its EASA certification. We saw it for the first time at Aero last year. Here it is on its super precarious stand, on which it lasted for a whole day before I think the Tecnam crew went, this is really dangerous. So this is the Tecnam twin with Rotax 912 IS-C3 engines, and they claim it's the world's most fuel efficient twin, consuming 14 litres an hour per engine. Compared to the 2006 T Mark II, the NG has an increased maximum takeoff weight of 2,844 pounds as well. That allows more payload. So I guess trying to make it more attractive as a twin trainer. So yes, I kind of presumed that when they launched it, I didn't even think to question, when's it certified? I thought that would be in the works. I didn't think it would take nearly a year.
No. And Ed, talking about, just quickly before we move on, talking about the propellers, we were having a conversation yesterday.
Yes.
About some of the Rotax propellers, which look a little bit like they're cocktail sticks stuck into a hub.
Sometimes, yes.
And I have to say, I think the props on the Rotax on the Technam actually look quite
They
nice.
look nice.
Yeah.
And it's a story that maybe we'll have to carry forward to next week. But there is Hartsfield have just made a new prop for the Carbon Cub, haven't they? The Carbon Cub UL, which we figured was because Americans probably didn't like spindly European propellers.
I suspect they looked a little bit. I'm not going to go there.
You can't picture like a Texan bloke ordering one of those super tiny ones, can you? It's just not going to happen.
It's like I want a big propeller.
Yeah, I would like a woke. None of your woke propellers, please.
Oh no. Dear. Anyway, more Technam news. Aeros, the UK flight school, they've ordered 6 brand new Technam P Mentors. They're on their way to the 4 bases in UK, Scotland, Wales and Ireland. Further 8 aircraft, making 14 in total, are also on order. And that's a deal between Aeros and UK Technam agent Orion's Aviation. So those are IFR-equipped aircraft, and they'll be used for ab initio and modular training for PPL and CPL courses. So nice to see some investment in new trainers.
Yeah, that's a chunky fleet investment, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking to schools, Johnny?
Yeah, so Skyborne Airline Academy, who you'll probably know from Gloucester, and they're also based at Vero Beach in Florida, they are going to open a second UK training centre at Bournemouth. So initially, the Bournemouth facility will focus on ATPL, ground school and MEIR training, with the anticipation, I think, of them opening up to do other training things further down the line. I think they do most of their PPL stuff in Florida at the moment. Lee Woodward, the CEO, said it's a bustling commercial environment, and they've got airlines flying from there, so it's a bit more of a sort of bigger atmosphere for student pilots to get their training done in. But yeah, I mean, you could. Are they looking for escape options? Perhaps, who knows?
I don't want to be one to put words into Lee Woodward's mouth, but he may have also said, have you seen the restrictions we've got at Gloucester? We need to go to somewhere where we can actually fly. But that, if he did say that, and I'm not saying he did, I'm just guessing, that probably wouldn't have made the press release.
No.
Yeah.
Flying schools are can only be useful if you can get aeroplanes in the sky. So
yep.
So and now we got a couple of news stories that kind of could fall into our airfield special bit as well, but we've got to be news. So, Dave, give us some.
Yeah, well, the 2 newsy pieces this week about airfields are Nottingham City Airport, which many people will know as Tollerton. It's been touted as a new garden village for the outskirts of Nottingham, and has been included in the draft version of the local plan. The latest news is that an official in the Department for Transport's Aviation Directorate, which I didn't know they had an aviation directorate until I saw this letter. They wrote a letter to one of the campaign group assuring them that the local councils have to take account of the National Planning Policy Framework, which clearly says planning policies should recognise the importance of maintaining a national network of general aviation airfields. The letter goes on to say, I want to assure you that we recognise the importance of general aviation airfields and to the aviation sector and their local communities. We're continuing to engage with the GA community on how we can best support the sector going forwards. I mean, the campaign group has seized on this as help in their battle to make sure the airfield does not become a garden village. There's more to come on that a bit later, but we just that's the news on that this week. The other small bit of news about on airfields this week is Old Sarum has gone to a planning. God, he's an old geezer. The Old Sarum has gone to a planning appeal in Salisbury. The appeal is against Wiltshire County Council turning down their plan to develop parts of the airfield. Anyway, that's the appeals. That planning appeal has now gone through, and it's came to an end, I think, today. And we'll hear soon. It shouldn't take too long because most of the arguments have been gone through many, many times over the years. So we should hear fairly soon about what's going to happen to that. And I'll bring a bit more. When we talk about airfields later, I'll add a bit more to that.
I'll save my old Saren question for you later. In that case, I think. Right, we're going to take a little break from well, only a tiny break, and I guess not really, for Johnny to tell you why you need to join the club.
You need to join because our Valentine discount ends tomorrow. So if you enter the code Valentine25 when you sign up at fly.co.uk/membership, you'll get 25% off a yearly or a monthly membership. New vouchers for landing vouchers for March, which will probably go live tomorrow afternoon, will be Wickham, Spanhoe, Leeds East and Easter. So go and make use of those. And also you can catch up on Ed Bellamy's piston engine icing webinar, which happened on Tuesday this week. And if you have watched that, you can catch up on Simon's winter weather tips webinar and Greener's forced landings webinar, and also 24 other member webinars, all on the member dashboard. So there's probably over 30 hours of content there you can watch through.
That's a lot of webinars. One thing, Johnny, you said Leeds East, and I think it's Rougheth East, isn't it? The landing cheese.
That word Rougheth, it's so easily misread as
Leeds.
We've had Good. And while you're there, before we move on to the airfields thing, just a quick reminder, do us all a big favour and subscribe to the YouTube channel and leave some comments. If you're watching on catch up, particularly some comments, that'll be very useful and we'd be most greatly appreciative of that. So thank you very, very much. Right, let's move on to the kind of subject matter of this whole thing, airfields and the good, the sad, and the closed, really. We kind of sat down and we wondered about, I mean, clearly, I don't need to tell everybody here that all of our adventures begin and hopefully end at an airfield. And so they are clearly an extremely essential part of our experience, and they can make a day, they can spoil a day, but they are essential. They cost a little bit of money, clearly, which people complain about regularly sometimes, but they are an essential part of it. And we quite often, and I'm guilty of this myself, when we kind of kicked off this project, I was expecting to be a bit down and a bit depressed by the end of it at all of the various airfields that had issues, and I don't want to take away from those that do. There are plenty of them. I was also hugely and pleasantly surprised by the number of really good news stories that are out there of airfields investing, and not just places like Halfpenny Green, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, but about airfields up and down the country investing in a big way, investing in a small way, investing in a team. Lots and lots and lots of really great stuff going on. I should say we're asking you on social media and in the comments here to let us know how your airfield's doing. We've got if we went through every single airfield in the country, we'd have to do a 3-hour special. And so we're not going to go through every single airfield in the country. We've picked a whole bunch of them. We'll talk about those. We will inevitably miss out some, and we're really sorry about that. And that's not because we've chosen to miss them out. It's just because there's too many to do it all. So please let us know in the comments if there's information and stuff that you have. That would be very useful as well. The last thing I want to say, and I'm sure a few people are going to repeat me, as it were, or I'll tell you again. When we say the sad airfield and good airfield and stuff like that, we're not making judgments on the particular airfield. We're talking about this in the context of the availability. Sad aircraft is because we're sad that the airfield has got some kind of impending threat, not because we think it's a shitty place that you should go to.
Yeah,
want of a better word. Actually, I think that's quite a good word. So we'll stick with that. So there you go. So Johnny, no, did we say? No. Oh, I didn't mean Johnny at all. I meant Johnny dressed up as Ed.
It's confusing.
I'm sorry. Ed, would you like to kick us off?
I said frozen.
Yes, I've got some internet buffering going on, so you may have to excuse me. But is everything all right now?
Yes.
Yeah. You're here.
Excellent. So closed airfields. This is. I know we've all heard we've all read bits of the news where we've heard about airfields closing, but there's a surprising number that we've lost in more recent times. Bourne Airfield closed in 2024. That's for the development of a village, 3,500 homes. Panshanger closed September 2014. Various development plans, nothing firm yet, but the latest is for 750 homes. I mean, look at that. What a fantastic site that was. Henlow closed in July 2020 with plans for 780 homes. Long Marston, we lost that in November 2017. That's going to be up to 2,500 homes, apparently. A very close one for me. Filton, flew in there many times. Closed in December 2012. And now they're doing a good job of covering that in up to 6,500 new homes. Rawton, odd one, this one. It's, still the nice outline of an airfield, but last aviation activity there was in 2001. Development plans for that one as a film studio, and there's solar park activity going on there. Obviously, Rougham, we lost in mid-2024. Woodford, August 2011, 950 homes there. And the last one on my list is Doncaster, which went in signs that may be becoming.
We're losing you, Ed. I don't know if you can hear us.
But is restricted. Oh,
right,
how far did I get?
You went Doncaster and then we got to restricted.
Okay. So Doncaster lost November 2022. That closed, but there's some signs that may be coming. We may get that one back. Who knows? But there's at the moment you would very much categorise it as restricted. The operations that are going on there.
Absolutely. You're talking of, because I think that's called Doncaster, Sheffield, Robin Hood or something, isn't it? So it was called something like that. Does anyone remember this airfield that closed? This is, I think it was called Sheffield City.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say it was quite a while ago now. I think it was maybe 20. It was a relatively new airport at the time, I think, as well. And if I remember rightly, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I'm sure you'll remember if I won't. When it opened initially, I think it might have been only open for twins or something, because there were some built-up areas. But have a look and see. Have a look and see what you think for me. But I certainly remember it from my early days at Flyer, Sheffield.
1997, Sheffield City opened, closed in April 2008. So that had a very fleeting life.
It did.
It did.
Huge investment for a short use.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there now, but I'm pretty sure it had some kind of twin restriction at the beginning. But correct me if I'm wrong.
So that was the closed bit, which is not very good. But there's also loads of good news about airfields. And by good, we mean popular with pilots, well run with facilities and investment in the airfield, airfields that know how to manage community relations and generate goodwill between pilots, managers, businesses on the airfield, and local residents. We're going to talk about some of them here, but it's by no means an exhaustive list of all the good ones. This is a story that we think we're going to be coming back to again and again in the future. So if you don't hesitate to let us know if you know anything good going at an airfield near you. So I've got to introduce the first ones. The first one is going to be Thruxton. Last year, in May, in fact, Thruxton Aerodrome had a new owner. It's city financier Alex. Oh, why did I get this one? Alex Thistlethwaite. I should have. Anyway, Alex bought the 440-acre Thruxton site, including the motor racing circuit and aerodrome, and it's the first time it's changed hands in 60 years. Alex's interest is mostly in motor racing, it has to be said. He races classic cars, including a 1965 Mustang V8, but he does appreciate aviation too. He said at the time, racers and pilots are very similar in their passions. They're a bit geeky like me. I don't know who you're thinking of, Alex.
Ed?
It's going to take a while, he said, but I want to build a really strong community here. I want to have something that I can leave to my children, my grandchildren, and for generations to come. So that's, he also said, very nice little quote, I love the bones of this place. It's got so much potential. And we've actually been talking to Thruxton recently. We were planning to do some sort of flight test there, and they couldn't have been more helpful. The weather wasn't very helpful, but they were extremely helpful, and we hope to be going back there soon to finish the job. Sorry,
I was going to say I've got a soft spot for Thruxton. I did my helicopter license there many years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I knew my way around the local area just about. I've probably forgotten it, but I know.
Yeah.
There's a couple of notes. Catkin says Thruxton needs a better cafe, but then the Wheelie Plain bloke says Thruxton do the biggest breakfast ever.
I think the Thruxton Cafe, which at least used to be called the Jackaroo, I'm not sure if it's changed its name, has changed relatively recently. I don't mean in the last few weeks or months, but concurrent with the new ownership, I believe. So
yeah. So my second airfield is Bodmin, quite close to me, in fact, and I've flown there a couple of times. The airfield is run entirely by the members of Cornwall Flying Club. It's their headquarters. They have and continue to improve and maintain the airfield and its facilities. Includes a large cafe, hangars, maintenance and fuel. But it's also the largest single-site traditional wildflower meadow in the region. And last year, Cornwall Wildlife Trust, Natural England and Cornwall Council conferred the status of county wildlife site because of all the orchids and other sorts of fauna that's at the flora and fauna that's at the place. It's a really super place, super aerodrome.
Yeah, I think Pete White does a lot of stuff in the old wild meadow stuff around there.
Yeah,
good chap.
They also have some really good events there as well. So, and I think they put on the Lundy Sunday event, don't they?
Well, yeah, Pete's obviously a prominent member of the Bodmin activity group, and obviously Pete is behind the Lundy flying. He's the big name behind that. So, but Bodmin very much that's a community orientated airfield, isn't it? It's almost by the people for the people.
Yep.
Absolutely.
A very different sort of airfield is Goodwood, but whether you arrive by air or by road, there's a really special factor about Goodwood. Obviously, it has a fabulous location close to the sea. South Downs not far away. It also has this fantastic GA buzz with companies like Ultimate High based there. The Goodwood Flying Club is very active, and there's also a microlight school as well. It's had lots of investment. It's a fantastic place to go, and of course they have lots of motor racing events there. The Goodwood Revival being my favourite. You can see the atmosphere there is they've got this kind of retro atmosphere going. It's a really special place, I think.
It's interesting, isn't it? Compared to Bodmin, which is effectively for the people by the people, as it were, and then Goodwood, which is like by Lord March or the other. But it's invested an absolute bloody fortune there. That flying club building must have cost multiple millions, I imagine.
Yeah.
And when you go to Goodwood, even, and I've been fly-ins there recently when it's not the big events, and even when it's not the big events, it still feels like a bit of an occasion when you go there. There's always feels gravitas. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I try and work in my visits to Goodwood with my schedule it around the time of my monthly bath. Because get dressed up and all that.
Paul Fraser Benison says big shout out to Mark Gibb and his team at Goodwood. Again, I think you'll see a lot in the common thread in a lot of this is the hesitate to say the successful, the good airfield, but good airfields tend to have great teams behind them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they're very similar to pubs. We've all known pubs that have been absolutely banging, fantastic pubs, had a great landlord and a great team, and it's been brilliant. And you've had a change of personnel, and the whole place just disintegrates because there's no. And airfields are the same. You have to have that kind of character behind them. You have to have people working at it and putting the energy in and organising stuff, and that gets reciprocated. So absolutely, and of course, just a quick shout out for Goodwood. I like to think that Goodwood remains great, in part at least because of the work that Rob Wildeboer did when he was with us. Absolutely amazing guy. Put in so much work there. Made it very special. Yes.
Yeah.
Ed?
Yeah, so some of my goods on the in the list, and certainly number one, based on unique visits by Skydemon users, is to Western. You won't be surprised to hear that this is a thriving hub for general aviation in the UK, and has seen significant investment from its owner. New tower, offices, cafe. You know, it's always tied. You know, there's new hangar buildings there with engineering in, and it's a great location. It's also I'm pretty sure that I'm right in saying that to Western absorbs as much carbon as they think they might be responsible for, because there's a huge, again, a bit like Bodmin, there's a huge effort in flora and fauna around the airfield. So it's certainly to Western, and it's an enthusiastic team of staff led by an equally enthusiastic individual, airfield manager Chris Brown. So
yeah, and the owner David Owen is
yes.
hugely enthusiastic.
Yeah, and you'll often see David around if you fly in there. And I know it's that will be a popular one. And yeah, Simon Braithwaite says, and a great flying club at Western.
Absolutely,
absolutely, Simon.
Yeah.
And Colin Wilkinson's on. He said that's an old photo of To Western. He said there's a big new hangar there. There is. I was looking at that photo, which is what made me remember the hangar. So. Yeah, Aerotiques Darren says To Western sets the benchmark now. It's brilliant. So, and those figures from Skydemon don't lie. You know, number one.
Yeah.
So,
those figures that I forgot to mention earlier on. You mean the top three? We got some information from Skydemon about the top three visited airfields. And number one was To Western. Number two was Sandown, and number three was Duxford. So, bit of a story there that we can come back and talk about a bit later if we need to.
Yeah, and also another one from me, Leicester. And while this one may not be about an investment in huge amounts of money, it's all about celebrating the huge investment of time by its committee and team of volunteers that keeps the airfield running. And I think everyone really, if you went to the LAA rally last year, you really saw that, because Leicester is one of the UK shining examples of effort and enthusiasm driving a vibrant centre for light aviation. So obviously home, I think it's safe to say, home to the LAA rally. It's returning this year after a successful event last year. Leicester Aero Club have been there. They celebrated their centenary back in 2009. So that is a long. They have a long relationship there. One thing I'd forgotten is that let's not forget that Leicester had been threatened by being placed on a development list, I think back in 2000 and something like 2008. But they came through that. So,
wow, yeah, absolutely.
So you can be at risk and get things back. So, and last one from me is Oaksey, which, while you might not consider it a big airfield by many means, but it is a place that's been working to become more accessible out of hours, and they've been investing in wider fuel options. And again, it's an enthusiast. There's a small team there, but they are an enthusiastic team, and you will always get a warm welcome. And the runway might be the best bit of grass that you can land on in the UK. Certainly one of the best bits of grass, I would say.
I've got a contender for that a little bit later on, but yeah, it's definitely one of the best bits of grass for sure. Yeah. I'm gonna hurry up a little bit because we're just running a little bit out of time at the moment. So one of the ones that I want to talk about is Ha'penny Green. Obviously, Ha'penny Green is. I'm not going to go into too much detail because we're going to be talking to Harvey very shortly. But that's a great place that's got even greater. And has a little special place in my heart because it was it was my first away land away, and that was for my qualifying cross country back in there a long time ago. I want to talk about another place, and it's really difficult to single these places out, but Baladay up in Scotland, what an amazing place! The investment that's been going on here is huge. The brand new hangars, fantastic fuel facilities, a really good little friendly airfield. It's taken a load of business from places like Perth, I believe, as well. But it's just like a super friendly place that's having investment going in not only to quality hangarage, but I think there's a UL fuel installation being put in. So that's absolutely fantastic. Then you've got people who watch this regulars will know David Eads, and this is coming up with the contest for the best grass that you can get. Just look at that. That is an absolute manicured, beautiful, beautiful place. And I have to say, being based on a couple of grass strips, you'd think that all you need to do is let the grass grow and stick a sheep on it from time to time. But I'll tell you what, to get grass like that's an awful lot of work that's gone into that, and absolutely jolly bloody good. And then they've got some late news today from a place called Kitty Hawk. Kitty Hawk is also changing. The new owners there invested in some maintenance around the place. There's new runway markers. There's new runway numbers. There's a connection to the AFTN been put in. There's or access to the AFPEX. That was it. Access to AFPEX. And I believe they're even going to not too far away from getting their own IK. So quite a lot been going on at Kitty Hawk. Nice little place.
Brilliant.
There are many more. And if I've left you out, I apologise. And Johnny's going to make up for it and guarantee to get everybody else, aren't you, Johnny?
Yeah, quick rattle through 3. So Slape, that's an airfield with a fantastic social scene. Obviously a massive event now every July, along with others throughout the year. Infrastructure investment. This is, I think, from a week or two ago. They've recently installed new runway lighting, done some repairs to runway 2-3, and repainted it as well. It's got a great cafe, which has had a kind of menu revamp in the past year. Really good fuel, great price, and a very young and enthusiastic staff and volunteer team. And that's another good example of, as Ezra was saying, a bit like Leicester. When you've got a good team that just get behind things and make things happen, it makes a huge difference. And Slape Kosh itself is obviously a massive event now with a fantastic feel, and that's brought about not by the airplanes that turn up, but by the people that work it and the people that come and visit. So if you haven't been to that, then do go.
You would definitely say that Slape is one of, it's almost like a GA heart of the UK, isn't it? That is a fantastic event. So.
Yeah. So second, Old Warden, which is a really important piece of our aviation heritage, and it's got better over the past couple of years. So they've now got a much more simplified PPR process. It's open for fuel from 6 a.m. till sunset plus 30, all self-service. The events are fantastic. If you haven't been, you must. There's some really amazing bits of history that fly from there. There's 7 on this year, I think. And you'll see a rare aircraft that you've probably never seen before at any and all of them. And it's got amazing heritage. It's got continued investment, perhaps not in the sort of GA infrastructure, but into the place as a whole. And it's kept beautifully, and it's a great place to go and visit. And the third one is Sandown, which obviously was, I think, number 2 on Skydemon this year. I think it was number 1 in the past. It's a massive favourite. Yeah, huge favourite for the community. And for a lot of people, it's like that one place that feels like you're going abroad because you're just crossing some water to get there. It's great. It's got fun infrastructure, great social side. The curries are great. The pizzas are great. And Dan Savani is great because he came in with no sort of airfield management experience and just went, right, well, let's make this fun. And he's created a really impressive little place. And yeah, I think he's just, again, one of those people who's throwing energy into it, and that's what makes a difference.
I think Sandown's got the notice at Sandown says something like no PPR, no yellow jackets, and no grumpy pilots. words today's notes. So no, absolutely great place and fantastic curries, as has been mentioned. Right, I think we're running a little bit late, so I think it's time to bring in Harvey. Harvey, stand by while I just make you the right size. What happened there? There you go.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Harvey. You are the duty manager at Halfpenny Green, and I thought you'd had a couple of months off while they were resurfacing the runways, but clearly not. But so give us a quick rundown. It's amazing to see investment in an airfield, but it's amazing that you're kind of investing plus.
Yeah. So ever since, because we've got several owners, but ever since one of our owners bought the airport in August 2023, we've invested a lot of money across the board, really. So the very first thing we actually did was we built 3 helipads in 2023. And then, of course, we've had the new restaurant, which is now 2 floors, and that cost almost £1 million just to develop that. And obviously the biggest project for 2024 and 2025 so far was the infrastructure upgrades, which is seeing all 3 runways, our taxiways being completely resurfaced, our parking apron doubling in size, our fuel bay now being concrete, and we've also concreted 3 helipads as well, which has cost an eye-watering amount of money. But we are very fortunate that we do have owners who are pro-GA, and they actually enjoy investing into an airport like here. So this is just a start, really. Like in April, we've got the new lighting being installed to 1, 6 and 3, 4, and helipad number 5. We're going to put lighting there, and also pilot control lighting as well. So at night, if we're not open, you could then turn lights on yourself. That's something we are also investing in. So yeah, it's very expensive, but it's very exciting times, and this is just a start. There's a lot to come as well.
So, I mean, it's clearly. How long did it actually take? How long were your runways out of action for?
It was about 4 weeks in total. I think we forecasted 3.5, so it's only a couple of days over. But a lot of people have been actually saying to us how they're quite surprised we've actually achieved it in that time, because if you came during the works, it was like lorry central. I generally thought at one point we needed temporary traffic lights for the amount of lorries that are coming, because there's just so many of them. But yeah, we're out of action for 4 weeks for fixed wing, but we were still operated for rotary because, like I said to you earlier, Ian, we did keep our air traffic unit open, so we still were operating for rotary and doing refills as well.
I mean, clearly didn't use my plumber to do any of the work, because you would still be not having turned up after 4 weeks, let alone come in and done it. I mean, and you've done a remarkable. It's just I'm not sure how many people, myself included, have actually seen a new runway before. Most of them are kind of, most of the hard runways, frankly, are a little bit worn out.
Does it come with a new runway smell?
It did actually. If you walked down, it was before it opened. It did have that unique smell, a bit of tarmac and a bit of paint. It was a very strong smell. Whether it's still there, I don't know, because it's been used quite a lot since. But the famous dip in 3-4, which is what Hate the Green was known for, it's eradicated, and I know it's a soft spot for a few people, that dip. And I know there's been a few jokes about, well, no one can blame us for the poor landings anymore because there's nothing there, because it's really smooth. When we drove the ops vehicle down there, it's just so smooth, and it feels amazing. So it's great to see. So if you do fly, definitely come in and just give it a look and give it a go, because the comments we've had from pilots as well has just been really, really positive.
So if you trebled all your landing fees or anything?
No, and that's one thing I was going to say. And despite it costing an eye-watering amount of money, we haven't increased our fees. The fees remain the same. We have no intention of increasing them anytime soon, because our owners are really pro-investing, but also giving something back. So the fees have remained the same. We don't intend to increase them. We just want people to come here and see us as a GA community. So, yep, those fees, they're still the same as before.
And have you seen an uptick in activity, obviously, since you reopened?
Yeah, the weather's been a bit hit and miss. We did have Saturday. So we reopened on the Tuesday. On Saturday, we did have 400 movements. It was pretty busy. Yeah, the open was full, and it was just non-stop all day. But we were perfectly staffed for it because we had a feeling it was going to be a really busy Saturday, and we do forecast that it will continue to go that way. Yeah.
And how's the new restaurant doing?
Really good. The restaurant's actually doing a lot better than what we thought it was going to do. The summit, it's absolutely full, so I would recommend making reservation if you want to use it, just because of how busy it gets. We don't just have pilots coming to it, we have a lot of people from the community using it as well. So if it's a nice sunny day, that restaurant will be full. We are currently working on an outside bar as well. So when we get to, I think it's spring, we're aiming to open it. There will be outdoor seating and outdoor bar available. So it's just going to be a really nice community, because it's not just the aviation side. We want to focus on the community as well, so people can come here and make a day of it. And there's facilities for everybody, regardless of who you are and what you want to do.
So I think when the weather's a little bit more reliable, even though Simon said it's looking quite good at the moment, then I think the flyer team ought to pop up for an early morning breakfast.
You're more than welcome to, and you just need to come down and try the new runways, and also come down to Amelia's and just try the food we've got there. It's what Hackney Green was today compared to what it was 2 years ago, it's almost like a different airport. So I think you would be very surprised to see the transformation so far.
And have you got any events lined up, or are you just kind of bedding in the infrastructure first?
So we don't at the moment. We are working on them. It's just we've been working around the clock with the infrastructure upgrades. Believe it or not, a lot of people thought it'd be quiet during that, but it's been non-stop from the management side, just because of the amount of work we've had to do. It is something we are looking into and we are planning behind the scenes, but right now there's not one published, but they are coming, so don't worry about that.
Okay, cool. Right, well, I look forward to coming for breakfast. Members, if you're a member out there, sitting there 1 penny.
Yeah,
if you're a member, we'll send you a message to say that we're going for breakfast. If you're in the area, come along and enjoy a sausage with us, as it were. So, Harvey, thank you very much for joining us. I'm really sorry to cut this a bit short, but we kind of run over and I want to try and get a bunch of other stuff. So thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you.
Yes.
Up at Hackney Green, and we'll catch you really soon.
Great. Well, thanks for having me.
Okay. Well, normally, how do we do this? I'm on the wrong part.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Harvey.
And then we're back to that.
There you go. We're back to that. Right.
So,
just before we move on to Fantasy Hangar, then.
Well, haven't we got SAD airfields?
That's what I meant. Before we move on to Fantasy Hangar, we've got SAD airfields.
We do, yeah. So across the UK, there's many sort of historic airfields that are facing an uncertain future. We've got rising land values, financial pressures, redevelopment plans, and that means that these aviation sort of hubs that were once, civil and/or military operators are all kind of under threat, from gigafactories to just storing cars and lorries on them. These airfields are under threat and could potentially disappear at an alarming rate. But obviously, they're more than just runways. They're more than just places for us to land on. They're part of the national infrastructure, a gateway for future pilots, and it's an important part of the transport network. So the big question over the next few years is, can they be saved? So the first one that I'm going to talk about very quickly is Manston. That's experienced a lot of challenges over the past decade and a half. In May 2014, the airport closed, citing financial difficulties. That led to a loss of a load of local jobs. And since then, it's been used for various things, from parking cross-channel traffic to filming locations and that kind of thing. And efforts have sort of been ongoing to reopen it since about 2021, 22. And the idea is to try and open it up as a sort of freight hub towards the end of this decade. So that's the first one. And the second one is Coventry. That was established in the 30s as baggage and aerodrome, and that's faced challenges over the past, again, sort of 15, knocking on for 20 years. In 2008, passenger services stopped, and then it reopened a couple of years later. It's been primarily a GA and training base since then. But of course, this was part of the whole gigafactory idea that came about just a few years ago to build batteries for electric vehicles. And that's, it sparked a whole debate over, what's more valuable for, that sort of piece of land. Is it better as a runway? Is it better as factories? So, that's just going to be, that's going to be the next sort of 10, 15, 20 years, I think, of arguments like that.
Yeah. Coventry's obviously still there, but I don't think there's any sign of a battery factory or a backer for a battery factory or anything else, really.
No.
It's just
I wonder how long it will take before plans for a battery factory turn into plans for thousands of houses.
Yeah.
Ed, you're far too young to be that cynical.
I know. Yeah.
Well, losing any airfield is sad, but if we lose Popham, that will be just slash your wrist time, really. There's Popham Garden Village is in the draft local plan for Basingstoke Borough Council. This area of Hampshire, North Hampshire, has been deemed a place to build houses, apparently. The plan for the Garden Village is 3,000 homes, plus the village centre. You can see on this picture here, the red outline is the size of the whole Garden Village, and the airfield is sort of slightly in the middle, slightly to the left. It's a massive project. There has been a fantastic campaign by people protesting and objecting. And in fact, In view of the large number of extremely high quality objections, the leader of the council and cabinet member for planning and infrastructure at the council said in September they intend to delete Popham Airfield from the draft plan. Good news. A month later, the council committee in October put it back because they have a need to find more numbers.
Yeah.
The campaign to object and make people aware is called Popham Airfield Matters. They're very, very active. They're very good. And they've put forward their alternative view, which was released in January. Somehow I missed that, and I do apologise for that. But they put forward an alternative plan, and it's offering, it keeps it obviously as an airfield. It keeps the airfield's rural nature, despite being close to Basingstoke and Winchester. It's actually a very rural area. And they've come up with a whole bunch of really good ideas about how it can be fitted in as a really worthwhile project, even more than it is already. Yeah. Because we're running short on time, I'm going to rush through these next little bits. Nottingham, there's a bit more to add to what I said before. Busy, well-loved airfield, not just with pilots, but also the locals. And the leader of the Save Nottingham City Airport campaign is non-pilot Sarah Deacon. She's tireless at keeping people up to date with what's going on. Solid in the green belt as well. You think it'd be untouchable. The problem is that a property developer has bought up a large chunk of the airfield site, and if you sell it to a property developer, what do you expect? Just on Old Sarum, just the last point I want to make on this at the moment, Grenville Hodge, director at Old Sarum, did tell us in the interview we did with him a bit earlier this month that if the appeal fails, all is not lost from a GA point of view, because they say they will return to maximum flying with movements up to 60,000 a year. That sounds great news at first, but there's a lot of houses that have been built around the outskirts of the airfield, and Salisbury itself is building houses at a crazy rate. So all those people who have bought houses in the estates nearby, who weren't there when Old Sarum was a really busy airfield, if it starts going to 60,000 movements a year, then they're going to complain. It's going to be incessant complaints. So not a great idea, that. I'm not saying I one side or the other, but there is that possibility.
I'm going to stick my hand up and say, if the planning appeal gets rejected, I'm going to bet that it doesn't go to 24-hour, 60,000 movements a year, because I just don't think there's that much around there. But I think it'll open up, but we'll have to see. And I'm glad to see that Johnny is not threatened by having houses built on him, and he's actually come back and joined.
He's reappeared.
Yeah. Ed.
Oh, I had two very quickly on my list. Obviously, Cambridge, with Marshalls announcing that they're withdrawing, and obviously there's a plan that's been put in for redevelopment of that site, and 3,500 homes. The formal planning permission for that was issued in July last year. So not looking very good for Cambridge. And obviously Fair Oaks as well. Fair Oaks, the old garden village suggestion, 1,000+ homes on what is a real useful gem of an airfield just to the south of London. So,
yeah,
absolutely. I've got a couple of unusual ones. The one that everyone's been talking about, the first one, is Gloucester. Gloucester is currently, as people know, not under any threat of housing or anything like that, but it is up for sale. I believe there are a number of buyers, and I think the council will be choosing their partner with whom they want to move the project forwards over the next couple of weeks, and we will see what happens. The problem is, when an airfield comes up for sale, we all know that the value of land on which there's an airfield, if it's run as an airfield, is somewhat less than the value of a land that if you're going to build lots and lots of houses on it. So there's a bit of a question mark happens there. And certainly we all know and understand, well, don't necessarily understand, but we all know of Gloucester's problems at the moment. And we know that, that it's a very tough place for them to get out of, particularly if it's up for sale. And I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone would bet long-term on Staverton at the moment, although that's extremely sad. You've got places like Inverness, which I'm not quite sure, whether you put it in sad, but certainly Inverness has seen a significant increase in fees from Highlands and Islands airports. So I think a landing card at Inverness is somewhere north of £3,000 at the moment for a year, which is a chunk of change, as it were.
Yeah, Ian Gore says £20 landings would be fine, but Highlands and Islands are about 3 to 4 times that.
Only at Inverness, not at the other places, but it's a challenge. So the next one I'm a little bit reluctant to mention, but I am going to mention it, and that is Leeds East. I'm reluctant to mention it because I don't want to say Leeds East is a sad place, because it's not a place. It's a great place. It's had a huge amount of investment put into it, so all of that is very good and very positive. And I suggest you get in your airplane and go visit. However, last week there was North York's council asked for expressions of people to put forward possible development sites, and one of those development sites was Leeds East, or Church Fenton as was, and under the tabular explanation, it was marked as residential. We've tried to get in touch with the powers that be at Leeds East and have yet to get a response to find out what was going on. I understand that it's a huge site, and there probably is room to build quite a few houses on there without affecting the airfield. And given the investment there's been in the airfield, I would hope that that is the case. But nonetheless, it is worrying when you see a site that's been put forward as a potential development site with residential use. So that's clearly a concern that we'll keep an eye on. And lastly, in this particular thing, Wellsbourne, and that's a long and sad story that's been going for quite a while now. There's plans for a new runway, there's plans for industrial sites and everything else, and it could well be that it all works out perfectly fine and everyone gets what they want for it. And let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that's the case. Certainly, you've got places like Retford Gampston, where originally when that was taken over, when the car people moved in, there was a lot of concern about runway slots and everything else. And that seems to be working out. And there's some good investment happening there and a great facility. So it could well be the same for Wellsbourne in 5 or 10 years' time. We could all be sitting here, all 4 of us, talking about how amazing Wellsbourne is.
Yeah.
So commitment for everyone to work for another 5 to 10 years, by the way, just in case to find out. But you know, that's kind of all I've got time for or we've got time for, I should say, on the airfield front. But there's another thing that's been going on. We're going to leave Ed to
yeah, and this is really just a little bit of a summary, and that's don't forget the rise of the grass strip around the UK. You know, there's a whole bunch of little, you know, that we can certainly we're seeing around here, movement of airplanes from places that are more conventional airports out to grass strip operations. So, you know, there are vibrant places of operation, not like conventional airports. Where aviation, I think, we're going to see more and more kind of operation fostered with those. And around here locally, we've got, obviously, Flyers incredibly lucky to be based at Wadswick, which is a fantastic little place, demonstrating that investment in a good restaurant can really transform traffic levels. They are really busy. Locally, there's Brown Shutters Farm, that's a relatively new strip. I mean, it's been around for a while, but got its certificate of lawful use, and they're doing a fantastic job there. And in the Livestream Extra, we were reminded that Hinderclay Meadows is UK's newest strip, opened in 2016. That's used by the Suffolk Soaring Club, and they have fly-ins there. That's a very active place. So yeah, so strips very, very important to us, I think, going forwards.
Absolutely, and I think just finally to say that, you know, one of the things that we've discovered in putting this together is that there is so much more to discover, and so much more which we'll be bringing you throughout the year. But also, you know, we're a small team, and we can't, you know, we need your eyes and ears as well. So if there's stuff that you know that's going on, then let us know. But please try and base it on fact. It's not, you know, we're not going to run a story. There's a couple of airfields in there that we haven't mentioned where I have heard things, but frankly, I can't stand them up, and it would be irresponsible of me or anybody else to say, "Oh, have you heard of this? I heard that there's this going to happen." And unless you can stand it up, that's a bit of a no-no for us.
Yeah, and like we said, you know, this discussion none of this is a definitive judgment. This is just airfields are clearly a hot topic, and they're close to our hearts. They're really important to us. So,
right,
you
absolutely. Should we rattle through Fantasy Hangar?
Absolutely. Play the trailer. So you would have heard, obviously, in the news, there's a new version of the Tecnam P2006, which made us think, hey, tweaked twins, versions that have been modified to be better than the original. Maybe we'll pick some of those for our Fantasy Hangar. So who's first?
I'm first on this one, and I have to admit I struggled a bit with this. I was kind of development and in the end I discovered this. It's kind of like a mishmash. It's a bit like Keir Starmer visiting Donald Trump today. It's a kind of mishmash of the UK and America. This is the Riley Dove 400. It's fitted with a pair of IO 720s, flat 8-cylinder engines, developing, I think, about 400 horsepower, 450 odd horsepower. And look at the tail. The Americans have went, we don't want no goddamn gypsy engines that leak oil everywhere, and we don't want one of those goddamn rounded tails that de Havilland, man. So we're going to have a sweat tail like that. And so there you go. This one here, at least in 2018 or 2017, I think, was the last flying example in the world. And it landed, according to Flight Radar, it landed somewhere in Alabama, where it's owned by a chap who seems to have a very nice collection, but there's no records of it flying since. So
that's the one I think we saw at Oshkosh. I think it was in 2017. So
it was at Oshkosh. You're right.
But I've got to say that swept fin does not match that beautiful cabin top, does it?
It doesn't. No. It's kind of like, yeah, the design sympathy was not there. So there you go.
Do you think a pair of IO 720s at full chat will suck the fuel tank inside out?
It's probably one of those things. You advance the throttle, literally as you move the throttle, the fuel gauge swings.
Yeah.
They're mechanically linked, I think, aren't they?
Yeah. Who's next?
Yeah. Next,
I think it's me. Yeah. So I've gone for a mod on the DC-3. So this was undertaken by Conroy Aircraft in the 70s, and here it is. This is the Conway Tri-Turbo 3.
Grief.
And this involved, fitting 3 PT6s, a third on the nose, and it gave a sort of increased cruise speed. And then the nose engine could be shut down in flight, so you could extend the range. And it first took to the skies in 1977 and was used mainly for maritime patrol and polar rescue missions. And it had been equipped with skis by other people. And despite being like a arguably better DC-3, apparently it suffered with vibrations.
Really?
Yeah.
Has anyone ever said a turbine converted DC-3 is underpowered and we need 50% more power?
I guess the only plus with that is that they didn't stick it on the fin like a Trilander.
Like a Trilander, yeah. If they hadn't gone out of business, they probably would. I think Conway also did a conversion of the Dove at one point. I think it was
possibly, yes.
And they elongated it, but then they stopped. They only built 6 of them. They stopped after one of them came apart in the air and decided that was a bad thing.
Yeah, I hadn't anticipated that anyone would go twin to tri-motor in this.
No. Johnny, not Johnny, Dave.
Well, yep, I've chosen this, a Beech 18 seaplane. Ed accused me of cheating because it's not been modified enough, but it has been. This one is a 1945 C-45F originally, built for the military. Would have been a wheels aircraft then. The upgrade started in 1952 when it became a Mark III T version, and there was major work by its current owner, Pacific Seaplanes, in 2017 and 2019 to get it flying again. It's operational on a place called Kamloops Seaplane Base in central British Columbia. Apparently, there's a lot of lakes around there. The owner, a chap called Randy Hanna, who owns the company, calls all the aircraft in his fleet Surfer, and this is Surfer 8. But look at it: twin radial engines, big floats, big wing, warbird appeal. Oh, it's just lovely.
Put it back so if you're looking at. Yeah,
It has a very pointy nose.
It has got a very pointy nose, so it's sort of a little bit reminiscent of that horrible pointy nose you get on some 310s.
Oh, I love a 310.
I know. Right, Ed, you better come and put us all out.
Adrian says it's mine to lose tonight.
Well, don't worry, he's not going to lose because he picked.
I don't think
one that none of us could get.
And I wasn't sure this was a good enough choice, but I am feeling that I may have a good one here, and I went with this: the Awesome Beach Duke with PT6 turbine power. Look at that! And the Duke is amazing, but add a couple of PT6s, and I just think that's brilliant. This is a rocket engineering project. They converted it to turbine power and called it the Royal Turbine. And you're basically saying goodbye heavy, inefficient piston engines and hello light turbines in slim nacelles for a total of 1,050 horsepower. You used to have to use 800 meters of runway in a piston Duke. Now you're down to 280 meters, 12 minutes to flight level 280. Where you can expect 280 knots. The old Duke would have had you doing 180 knots, 18,000 feet. Like many turbine conversions, fuel capacity is a challenge. That's all right. Northwest Turbine, just fill it full of fuel bladders everywhere to bring it to 282 gallons. Conversion cost I found in 2017 was $1 million plus your donor Duke. The good news though is that you can go online. I think Controller had 2 for sale. Both around about $1 million. So don't go with a conversion. Don't go with one to convert. Just go, I'll go and buy one. Because I think that the Duke has real presence. And I think the turbine Duke really kicks ass. That is.
Did the ad say for it at the time? Would you like a more cramped King Air for more money?
Yeah, but I know a King Air is very functional. A turbine Duke. People are just, it's a mic drop of an aeroplane, isn't it? So
yeah, you've arrived.
And my barometer of winning, Adrian Norris says Ed wins. There we go. Martin Lonsdale, Ed wins. There we go. So Ed wins. Dave close second. Ed wins again. Ed wins. Wow, indeed. Ed has it. Riley Dove for me. Ian wins.
Thank you, Julius.
Wash your mouth out. No, you shouldn't just have a King Air. Derek Ings. I'm still going with Johnny. Ed it is. Johnny wins. Steve Carroll. You haven't said what? Are you saying the Duke, the turbine Duke?
Or is it just take the money?
Ian wins. Ian wins on front alone. Too much corrosion in Dukes. Don't spoil my dream. So I think there's a Duke at Taken Hill. So there we go. There's your conversion. Just waiting to happen. Oh, Dave wins. Dave has my vert. Johnny. But that's when it's one person saying your name 4 times. That doesn't.
Cheers, Derek.
Cool.
It's fantasy. They're all nuts, but Ed's is plausible nuts. I'm going to take that win this week. So
okay, you can take that in. Right, let's just rattle. We're running definitely very late now, and we're not going to extend the life of the show to an hour and a half every week for sure. Yeah. So what are the events, Dave?
Right, this weekend there's the pancake flying at Slape. Next week there's a safety evening with Astral at Earl's Colne on the 5th of March. Microlight flying at North Coates on the 15th and 16th of March. And Pilot Careers Live London on the 22nd of March.
Fantastic. Well, that remains for me to say thank you very much, team. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thank you very much, all of the airfields that helped us out with this, with pictures and information and other stuff. Thank you very much for everyone who's landed at those airfields. That's very good. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps. And join the Flyer Club. That would be better. We'll see you next Wednesday afternoon if you're a member. Next Thursday if you're not. And as usual, if not, why not? Come on. We need food. Yes, carry on. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you very much. Happy flying this weekend. Looks like a good one.
Hello, this video is sponsored by us, the Flyer Club. And if you're not a member already, we'd love for you to join.
Members get access to all of our content, our free landing fees every month, exclusive webinars, and much, much more.
It costs just £5 per month to become a member, so head on over to flyer.co.uk/membership or click the link in the description below.
It's a proper good deal.
It's a bargain.